This meeting is now called to order at 5:39 p.m. Madam Secretary, can you please call roll?
Certainly. Hugo Alvarado, Commissioner, is out. Commissioner Jason Gavilanes,
Present.
Commissioner Raul Velasco,
Present.
and Chairperson David Heredia.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Iniguez, can you lead us into the invocation, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Please bow your heads in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful for the privilege of meeting here this evening. We ask for your blessing on the proceeding of this meeting and ask that you give guidance and wisdom to the commissioners as they make their decisions. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you. And Commissioner Gavilanes, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Secretary, was the agenda posted according to state law?
It was posted according to law.
Okay, thank you. And this is the time given to the public to speak on agenda and non-agenda items. And were any comments received?
No comments were received.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we need an approval of minutes from July 2nd, 2024.
I'll push approval.
Okay, and I need a second.
No second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Commissioner Jason Gavilanes,
Present.
Commissioner Raul Velasco,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair Heredia.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're going to go on to the discussion portion here. Item number 2, traffic safety analysis. And Mr. Iniguez, can you please give the report?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 2 is regarding a request to establish a parking district on Crest Avenue from Florence Avenue to Clara Street. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission, 1, authorize staff to conduct further analysis to evaluate the non-resident vehicles parking on Crest Avenue to determine where the vehicle owners work, assess the parking capacity of the respective vehicle owner's employer's business, and determine if other parking alternatives for Clara Street commercial businesses are available. And 2, authorize staff to complete a traffic volume and speed data analysis for Crest Avenue from Florence Avenue to Clara Street to determine if any other traffic issues require mitigation. So with that, I'll have City Engineer Doug Benash present the full report. Doug?
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. We received a residential parking permit district establishment petition from the residents on Crest Street. And they're requesting the parking restrictions by permit between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And so with that in mind, we had to follow our city's residential parking permit policy because the residents expressed concerns of vehicles parking that do not live in the neighborhood on the street segment, which is shown in Exhibit 1. So when we look at the policy, we do this on a case-by-case basis. Crest Avenue is typically a north-south local residential street with a prima facie speed limit of 25 miles an hour. The block consists of primarily single-family homes, multifamily homes on both sides of the street. The roadway width is approximately 40 feet curb to curb, and parking is allowed on both sides. The length of Crest from Florence to Clara is by 960 feet, and Crest has stop control that exiting Florence and exiting Clara accordingly. And the street is also posted no trucks over 3 tons in both directions. The policy itself, and I'll just go through the 7 points that we have to evaluate in establishing a parking district, is that the proposed permitting district, and I'm just going to read this verbatim because I don't mess it up. This is our first one. This is our first parking district that we've ever done. So the proposed permitted parking district is at least 3/4 or 75% single-family residential's units on the block. For this purpose, the whole block is defined as the entire portion from Clara to Florence. The proposed district needs to include both sides of the streets. And then a traffic engineer determines if this is impractical or undesirable. Each single-family residence, the next point that we evaluate, each single-family resident shall have one vote for the petition of the proposed parking district. Each dwelling unit or a multifamily property shall have one vote for the petition for the proposed permit parking district. Multifamily properties, if any, within the proposed district boundaries are defined as being duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes only. At least 75% of the on-street parking spaces within the proposed district boundaries are occupied during the time of the requested parking prohibition restriction. A survey is conducted to confirm that of the minimum 25% of all the vehicle parking spaces within the proposed restricted or prohibited parking hours must be registered to non-residents of the proposed district. For purpose of this section, a non-resident shall be defined as an individual who resides outside of the district boundaries. The street block in question is a designated residential street. For this purpose of this section, the residential street shall be defined that it meets the criteria of the local streets as defined in the city's general plan and is not considered a major highway, a secondary highway, or collector street. And there is no the next item to evaluate no alternative solution or practical and reasonable. And then the last item, such other criteria as the city traffic engineer determines necessary, including not limited to the extent to which vehicles owned by residents of the area could be accommodated by off-street parking spaces. So with those 7 items, we went through all 7 items and evaluated each one. Item number 1, the proposed parking district. You're utilizing a visual inspection of the properties along with Google Earth mapping. There are 27 properties on Crest Avenue on both sides of the street, total, between Florence and Clara. A total of 13 properties are single-family homes, and the data is shown in Exhibit 1 of the report. This equates to 48% of the residents being single-family homes, whereas the policy requires at least 75%, so the actual block does not conform to the first item on the policy. The submitted petition does comply with the policy requirement of 1 vote per property. On-street parking availability. We did a property field measurement of available parking spaces. We utilized the standard manual of uniform traffic control devices, standard of a 20-foot parking space for on-street parking. So there's approximately 40 spaces within the block. And that's just for measuring purposes. This number will vary based on the size of the car and availability of parking spaces available. On July 18th and the 22nd of this year, we inspected the street and found the street fully parked on both days during the inspections. Therefore, this condition of the policy is satisfied. Item number 4, staff verified and documented parked vehicles on Crest Avenue on July 18th and the 22nd. During the field visits, vehicles were photographed and the license plate information was provided to the Bell Gardens Police Department to determine vehicle owners' registration locations. On July 18th, 37 of the cars parked on Crest were registered to non-residents. And July 22nd, 23 of the 32 cars, I'm sorry, let me back up. On July 18th, 25 of the 37 cars parked on Crest were registered to non-residents. On July 22nd, 23 of the 32 cars parked on Crest Avenue were registered to non-residents. This equates to the percentage of 68% and 72% respectively. Therefore, this condition of the policy is satisfied for the street being fully parked. Per the general plan, the next item to review, Crest is a local residential street as defined by the general plan. In evaluating the no alternative solution, Crest Avenue residents requested parking permits for the daytime hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Only criteria number 1 was not satisfied for the establishment of the parking data or for the parking district. The data shows that there is daytime parking impacts on Clara Street from commercial businesses. It is clearly known that the city of Bell Gardens does have a parking issue throughout the city. Therefore, the city engineer recommends a further evaluation of the non-residents vehicles parking on Crest, determine where those vehicles owners work, the parking capacity of the employees' businesses, to determine if there are any other parking alternatives on Clara to be evaluated. And based on what I saw also through going through the data evaluation, as item number 7 is if there's any other criteria, I'm recommending also traffic and speed volume be done on Crest. If there's anything else to mitigate out there. So in conclusion, I do not have a formal recommendation yet that I'm presenting to the commission to establish a parking district. Like more evaluation is required, and that's what I'm recommending to solve this, or to at least come up with a solution to that effect. So therefore, as the director indicated, the 2 recommendations, further evaluation on where these cars are being parked at the businesses, and is there anything else on Clear we can do, and then also do a traffic and speed survey on Crest Avenue to see if anything else can happen. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. I know like for our speed humps, we need like at least I think 50% of the residents to say they want speed humps. Is that the same case for residential parking permits?
No, the items of the residential parking district, or the 7 items I outlined, those are the requirements for that. And that's just to establish a permit parking district. So speed humps, there's something else going out there. There's a parking issue of cars not belonging to people who live on Crest by the registration data we obtained from the PD. So based on, we need to evaluate that more. We might as well take a look at the speed conditions of Crest Avenue and see what's happening out there.
Got it. Yeah, I know we had talked about the residential parking. It's come up a few times, but we never really had to like go into depth. Yeah. Okay, so for example, let's say this then meets criteria and to become a residential parking permit district. In that case, then would still after that, would the majority of the residents on the block have to kind of sign off and say, yes, we want to have permits?
I've read it and I've forgotten it. There is a policy once the conditions are satisfied, or we determine that everything is satisfied. There is another process to establish it. Okay, I apologize. I don't know.
If I can, Doug, so 70% of the folks have to sign in consent in that petition. So we need 70% concurrence that the dwellings, the folks in those dwellings are for this permit district.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this is just to establish it as a residential parking district. Okay.
If it were to be approved down the line, would there be a limited amount of permits given per property? Or is that anybody that lives there can get infinite amount, maybe not infinite, but a good amount of permits depending on the amount of cars they have?
There is a process for how that gets established. I do not have, I think Bernie's got the policy in hand.
Yeah, so there will be if all gets approved, right, all the criteria and conditions are met, and it's recommended by the city traffic engineer, then yeah, not more than one residential permit would be issued to each single family dwelling unit, and not more than one residential permit may be issued for each multifamily dwelling unit. So those are the conditions stipulated in our policy at the moment.
Thank you. And as far as just alleviating parking in general, do we still have the ability to have residents request a permit to park in front of their driveway if they're registered to that?
Correct. That's still at the availability of the residents. Correct. Now, I do want to add, aside from the one permit per dwelling, the city traffic engineer is also authorized to issue an additional preferential parking permit per dwelling unit if certain conditions are met. So the applicant will have to submit vehicle registration, proof of auto insurance. The applicant will need to demonstrate that his or her dwelling unit has insufficient off-street parking. The applicant must demonstrate that there's an adequate number of reasonably convenient residentially related on-street parking spaces in the area. And the applicant would have to establish that an undue hardship would result if the request of the additional permit is not granted. So these are conditions that would allow for a secondary permit at the observance and review of the city traffic engineer.
It's tricky. I see why the residents might be frustrated when they come home and there's no parking and their spots are taken up by people that don't live there. Especially people that work in the area. It's a very delicate topic, and I'm sure it's gonna be a long road if this does get applied. I think if down the line this get approved to have the residents vote, I think it's important for them to know exactly what they are getting themselves into. So like a give and take.
One more question just to check on the permit hours here. I see it says 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Is that right, or is it 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
It is a daytime restriction, 6 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. at night.
Is that the usual restriction, or is it like, I would assume it's like when you come home, then you want your parking spot?
I think they're requesting it because people that commute to work are parking there instead of.
Hmm.
That's how I'm taking it.
Right. Yeah. I think like, cause just like from personal experience, I think I've seen like permits usually go like overnight just to make sure you have somewhere to park, I guess, when you're home. But this one, they're requesting that.
So this one is specifically
opposite.
daytime hours
Interesting.
to allow the residents access to be able to park.
Park. Okay. Okay. If there's no further comments or questions, then we need a motion to approve staff's recommendation to continue further analysis to evaluate if criteria is met enough to go ahead and seek approval of a residential parking permit district.
My first approval.
And I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Commissioner Gavilanes,
Present.
Commissioner Velasco,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair Heredia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on to our next topic, number 3, traffic safety analysis. And Mr. Enriquez, can you please give the report?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 3 is regarding a request for speed humps on the alley west of Eastern Avenue from Clara Street to Gotham Street. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission deny and close out this request. And with that, I'll have City Engineer Doug Benesch present the full report.
Thank you. We received a request from a resident to install speed humps in the alley in the alley west of Eastern Avenue between Clara and Gotham. Due to one of her cars got hit. We do have a speed hump policy, so we went through the process of looking at the alley to see if it does, and knowing that the Clara is an east-west collector for locals to bypass the traffic on Florence. I could see just by visual observation where this alley is located. I can see people cutting through there when they're sitting at the light, going eastbound on Clara at Eastern to cut through the alley to get down to Gotham and then out on the Eastern southbound. So knowing how human behavior is, we initiated the review based on the request just to confirm the numbers. So with that, our speed hump policy requires that it's a local residential street with one lane of travel in each direction and a roadway width not more than 40 feet. There are no curves that make it difficult for drivers to see the speed humps, and traffic volumes are between 500 and 3,500 vehicles per day. The posted speed limit is 25 miles an hour, or the prima facie is 25 miles an hour. And the 85th percentile has to be greater than by 8 miles an hour or 25 miles an hour. And you do not have small speed humps on, well, Bell Gardens is flat, but over 6%. And the street is not used as a transfer route or primary emergency route. So when we looked at the data, which was collected from June 27th to June 30th, based on an average of 219 vehicles per day on the 4-day evaluation period, were witnessed in the 85th percentile. The 85th percentile of the speed was only 19 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour over what the actual alley speed limits per the vehicle code is 15 miles an hour. So it does not meet the traffic volumes, nor does it meet the 85th percentile. It also doesn't meet the fact that it's 20 foot wide from that standpoint. So therefore, There's been no other accidents or any other issues out there, and it's our recommendation to deny the request and close out the report.
Okay, I had a couple questions about this. For the speed survey, I was just wondering, since the average is like 19 miles per hour and this is like the 85th percentile, or was it 19 mile per hour? Do we know like how many cars are going like, I don't know, like 30, 40 miles per hour? Or like something like way above and beyond like what they should be?
I'd have to go back and look at the data. But I don't think there's anything, there was nothing. If there was, it'd be like one oddball,
Yeah.
but I don't have the data. It wasn't anything on it. It was your standard, it's a typical bell curve distribution wise. And it's like, well, this one was pretty tough because it's an alley from that standpoint. So there wasn't a whole lot of outliers being in the alley.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a speed humps requested for an alley, so that's interesting as well.
The impetus was the fact that it could be a cut through for eastbound commuter traffic going back home. And and just to I guess the customer service value of at least evaluating it, because I mean the traffic counts are not expensive. And typically they're about $420 for a 4-day survey. So it's not like we're spending it's $420 of money spent that at least give us an answer to a question.
If I can expand on that as well, the actual city circulation element, which is part of the general plan, actually does identify some of these alleyways as local streets. And our policy indicates if it's a local street, then it has to be vetted out. That's one of the reasons why this particular alleyway was considered for the assessment.
Okay, and as far as it looks like just because some residents were probably concerned about like cars going too fast through the alleys, since alleys are pretty tight. Even like a 25 mile per hour or 20 mile per hour probably feel pretty quick going down a narrow alley. Are there any? I know we have an alley just right back here that's like a one way. Would that be a possible solution to turn it the other way around from where cars are cutting through, or is there some kind of traffic volume that lets us know which direction they're going in the alley?
It would depend on, the other variable in the analysis would be traffic accidents. And there doesn't appear to be any known record of it, with the exception of this one hit car. And you would try to either find per the MUTCD, if you're going to put a traffic controller device, the device needs to correct what the traffic is doing, or control what the traffic is doing, just as a standard practice. So, like for a stop sign, the stop sign corrects right of way violations. So it's the T-bone accidents that drive. You have to evaluate the accident to make sure it's a T-bone, because that's a right of way violation. A side swipe, either north or south of the intersection, those don't count as part of the accident count. They're grouped because it's close to the intersection, but when you got to go down and dig into the physical data of the accident report to determine if it actually could be corrected by a device. And we don't have any accidents to do anything on this one.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to approve staff's recommendation.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention something because I am very familiar with this alley because I actually live on Clara. And I think it's a very dangerous alley because at the end you go right onto ongoing traffic. The street on Clara at certain nights, or like let's say Friday, Wednesday night, because there's 3 bridges. That one bridge, there tends to be a lot of traffic. So either people going across the bridge to go on, Bell or Cudahy, or they're coming to Bell Gardens. But the reason why I find it to be dangerous is because at the end, when you're going down where Clara Street is, you're going into traffic. And that traffic is consistent sometimes. So, and I've seen this alley many times. Some people, they do speed down the alley. Some people, they go the other way and speed down the other way. And sometimes there's people walking down the alley. And sometimes it's kids. Sometimes it's women and children. So I guess what I'm asking is this any way to get a sign in that alley on the other side where Clara is? Any way to, like a warning or something to say that, you know, not to speed at this speed, or, you know, there's people there or something, anything.
Yeah, I'll have the city engineer look and see what signage is there in the library of the MUTCD, because there are approved signs that we can explore. And we'll determine if one suits that purpose. That's again within the MUTCD's sign guidelines.
Okay. I think, be great. Thank you.
And we can bring a recommendation back to you.
All right, sounds like a good plan. Okay, go ahead and need a motion from a commissioner to approve staff's recommendation and take into consideration any comments. And and deny the speed hump request.
First motion.
I second.
And Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Certainly. Commissioner Gavilanes,
Present.
Commissioner Velasco,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair Heredia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to the next item, number 4, and traffic safety analysis. Can you please give the report, Mr. Iniguez?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 4 is regarding a request for speed humps on Darwell Avenue from Loveland Street to Lubeck Street. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission, 1, authorize staff to distribute a speed hump survey questionnaire to all residents fronting Darwell Avenue from Loveland to Lubeck, requesting their confirmation of support or opposition of the proposed speed hump installation. And 2, if at least 51% resident support is obtained, then approve for city council consideration the installation of 3 proposed speed humps on Darwell Avenue, or if less than 51% resident support is obtained, then deny and close out the citizen speed hump request. So again, I'll have City Engineer Doug Benach present the full report. Doug?
Thank you. Another speed hump request. We follow the same policy procedures. We received a petition from the resident on the street. He also requested the 25-mile-an-hour speed survey that we talked about last week for posting of signs, or last month, and we dealt with that accordingly. So being that Darwell itself is a north-south residential street, providing 1 lane of travel in each direction with a prima facie speed of 25 miles an hour. The block has single-family homes and multifamily homes on the west side of the street, and the Edison right-of-way is on the east side. The roadway width is 27 feet from curb to curb, and parking is allowed on the west side of the street and not the east side. The length of Darwell from Lubeck to Loveland is 1,240 feet, and Darwell is stop controlled at both Loveland and Lubeck Street. The average daily traffic volumes for the 4-day period on Darwell is 1,450 vehicles per day. And these were recorded on June 27th through June 30th. The 85th percentile exceeds the 8-mile-an-hour indicated speed activity. The recorded speed profile measurements at a 85th percentile of 34 miles an hour, which is 9 miles over the posted speed limit. Therefore, that policy meets the speed criteria. Therefore, after reviewing the policy criteria and the collected traffic data, we're recommending that the subject block meets the requirements to proceed with the next step in consideration of the citizen's speed hump request. And this will include the distribution of the speed hump questionnaire to all residents fronting Darwell between Loveland and Lubeck. If it does receive support for the installation of speed humps, there's a cost that'll come out of the city's maintenance fund of $3,795. And the exhibit 2 shows the proposed locations of the speed humps on Darwell. And I'll entertain any questions.
I guess just to confirm, the questionnaire is sent in both English and Spanish?
Yes.
Thank you.
I had a quick question. Is this the same block? I know we had talked about the creating a sign for the speed there. Is it the same block or is it like a different block or is it the exact same block?
Exact same block.
Okay, I was just wondering if it was more south on Darwin. Same block, okay. If there are no comments or other questions, we need a motion from the commission to approve staff's recommendation to go ahead and send out that survey to the residents.
I first the motion.
And I'll second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Gavilanes,
Present.
Commissioner Velasco,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair Heredia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5, last item on the agenda, traffic safety analysis, and can you please give the report?
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Enig?
Chair, one more speed hump request. So item number 5 is regarding a request for speed humps on Emo Avenue from Florence Avenue to Live Oak Street. It is staff's recommendation that the Traffic and Safety Commission deny and close out this request. So Doug, if you can please provide the full report.
Thank you. Again, another speed hump request on Emo Avenue from Florence to Live Oak. In going through the policy, we set the road tubes up July 18th through the July 21st, Thursday through Sunday. That counted 1,078 vehicles per day, which is in compliance with the traffic volumes. And then we looked at the speed. The 85th percentile of the speed was 24 miles an hour, 1 mile less than the prima facie speed limit. Therefore, it does not qualify for speed humps. So therefore, that's our recommendation. I'll entertain any questions.
I was just curious as like, it's a pretty short section and I was just wondering how many residential areas are there, like houses? I see like maybe 4 or 5. I was just wondering like
It was 9 to 10.
9 to 10.
Okay.
Okay.
The aerial's a little too far out. I might be missing one. Am I looking at the aerial photograph and counting them? Yeah, it's a small block.
Got it. Okay. Just-
And every block on Emo, even from Florence to Florence Avenue, Florence Place is all stop controlled.
Okay, just like Jason had mentioned earlier, like maybe just checking in on the signage, speed limits, anything else that it's not quite visible, or if it needs a new sign that would make it more visible to any cars coming on. I'm assuming cars turning from Florence might be coming faster, but it could be the other way around. I guess just checking both sides to see, make sure the speed limit's posted or anything like that. Other than that, I need a motion from the commission to approve staff's recommendation to deny speed hump request.
My first motion.
And I'll second.
And Madam Secretary, can you please take roll call vote?
Certainly. Commissioner Gavilanes,
Present.
Commissioner Velasco,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair Heredia.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and do we have any comments from staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, staff is in the process of completing a request for proposals for the development of a Safe Streets for All action plan. This will include updating the city's existing complete streets plan and systemic safety analysis report to create an action plan that conforms with the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna allow us to go after federal grant funds for future capital safety improvements. And that's all for staff's comments.
Thank you. And do we have any comments from commissioners?
Nice to see everybody. I hope everybody's having a great summer and well, enjoy the rest.
The people in the back want to give a comments?
We have, we'll include this as part of the analysis when we do the speed and survey. We'll go back out and look at it during the parking areas. Other jurisdictions in the past, and we've done it here before. We've done it here before also. Something we call red tipping, where we paint the angled portion of the drive approach that goes from what is driveway level back up to the curb height. We paint those red, and then we'll have to request the PD to enforce.
Not on the front, but on the back. I did notice some of the blocks right there, the curves were painted red. That looks beautiful.
We'll take a look at it as part of the speed survey. We'll make a note that maybe one of the line items we'll address.
Yep, and I believe this is item number 2 on the agenda for today for Crest.
Just thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts. It's definitely added to our motivation to get this solved.
And just a question for the first comment on the cars that are possibly being unloaded and parked on Crest. Is this do you know if it's the same block that we had mentioned earlier earlier in the meeting? Okay, just to clarify in case it's a different block. So 7500 block, I guess we would have to check for those.
No, this is the same.
Same block.
It's the same
Okay,
block.
Perfect. Okay, and do we have any more comments from commissioners? I had one, as far as the speed humps go, since I know in the last few years we've added a lot more speed humps to streets in Bell Gardens, and I know one that I travel often down Spec between Watcher and Gage. There's a few speed humps down that block, but the paint markings are like very, very faded. Like pretty much when you drive onto the street, you don't see it. So I think like one, if you're just driving even like 25, you're definitely gonna like probably hit the bottom of your car. But 2, then it kind of like you don't slow down, and that's the purpose of the speed hump anyway, to help slow down traffic. So if there's a way we can kind of like catalog all the speed humps that I guess we've added so many in the last few years, to just make sure that the speed humps are like marked properly and painted, and the signs are visible, trees haven't like grown over them or anything like that. That way it's safer for the streets, safer for the vehicles as well that are traveling on the streets.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that, Mr. Chair. And right now, actually, we're doing citywide striping, and we're gonna get to all those features. We should be completing the schools, for example, since school's coming back in session, and that's on the list to also refresh the speed hump striping.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. If there's no other further comments, then we're going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting and to the next scheduled meeting, Tuesday, September 3rd. And this meeting is now closed at 6:20 p.m. Thank you.